So if you're anything like me, you're probably thinking, wait, exactly how many books are coming out in April? And if you're a book buyer like I am, then you're probably thinking, how the heck am I going to afford all of these books that I want now? So what I decided to do for you and for myself is to list out the best and biggest releases that are coming out in April, and you don't even have to thank me. But if you really want to, you can like this video or subscribe or leave a comment thanking me, because I would appreciate it. Because I will be talking about 20 books today. 20. I will be going through them in release date order just to make it easier for all of us, and I will be going through them pretty quickly because, like I said, 20. Hopefully you've already brought up your Goodreads page. So coming out on April 1st, we have Blackstone Hearts by Michael R. Fletcher. This is a dark fantasy, the first book in the Obsidian Path series, and it really has such a video game sounding plot to it. It's following a man named Crane who awakes alone and lost. His stone heart has been shattered and is littered across the world, and with each piece that he finds, he regains a small part of the man he once was. He follows the path fragment by fragment, remembering his terrible past, and the only thing us readers know is that there was a sword, a woman, and an end to the sorrow. Whatever the hell that means. I'm very excited for this. I think the cover is stunning, and hopefully the story is too. There are 2 books coming out on April 6th, and the first one is Chosen Ones by Veronica Roth. That's right, we have a brand new book by our very own Divergent author. What the heck has she been up to lately? Apparently writing a brand new dystopian. 15 years in the past, 5 teenagers were singled out by a horrible entity that was wreaking havoc across North America. He was known as the Dark One, and he leveled cities and killed thousands. After the Dark One fell, everything went back to normal for everyone except for them. Sounds ominous AF. I'm very curious to see how Veronica Roth writes this new series, and hopefully it doesn't end like how Divergent did. Also on the 6th, we have Queen of Coins and Whispers. First off, I adore this classy looking cover and apparently a lesbian story. When Leah, a queen, falls for Xania, her new spy master who is tasked to avenge her murdered father, they realize all isn't fair in love and treason. Oh, scandalous. As they're drawn together amid royal suitors and new diplomats, they uncover a treason that could end Leah's reign. This sounds like a very political YA fantasy. Now I'm really wondering where the heck the fantasy element comes in, but I'm very curious, and also this cover, man. This cover, I'd get it just for that. And then we have Legacy of Ash by Matthew Ward, which will be gracing bookstores on April 8th. Following multiple perspectives within a kind of Middle Ages setting, which already sounds like perfection to me if you're looking for a very complex fantasy, very dense one with large battles, then I highly recommend checking this one out. This one definitely gives me Game of Thrones vibes, and Orbit personally told me that I should really like this one. Let's hope you're right. On April 7th, we have 6 books releasing.
Hold my wallet.
The first one is The Glass Magician. This is a historical fantasy that takes place in 1905 in New York City. This one sounds so interesting because it follows a stage magician who, one night, while a trick goes horribly wrong, she discovers that she can shapeshift. The general idea and also the cover of this kind of reminds me of The 10,000 Doors of January, which I absolutely loved. It's one of my favorites, so if this book is anything like that, it should be good. Weave the Lightning by Corey L. Lee. This is also a bit of a historical fantasy taking place in 1905. It's inspired by Russia, and it's following a circus performer as she finds out that she has storm powers and she has to hide them. And then we have a secondary character who threatens to reveal everything. This one sounds very interesting, and I'm very excited to see a world where different cultures and societies have grown up with magic. I really think the idea is very cool, especially with that rich Russian backdrop. People who read and loved The Wicked Saints will be excited to know that Ruthless Gods is coming out as well. This is a dark YA fantasy with elements of blood magic. It's apparently very heavily inspired by Russia and Poland. I have yet to read the first one, but it's one of those books I am very interested in. I actually have an e-arc for The Wicked Saints and this one as well, so I should really jump on this already. But I really wanted to mention it because it is a very highly anticipated sequel. Thieves of Weirdwood. I absolutely can't get over that title every time I see it. It makes me laugh. This is a fantasy series about 2 kid thieves who are plunged into battle with the real world and the imaginary world. I'm sure you can tell by the cover that this is a middle grade, but it sounds so cool because these 2 kids are very determined to steal their way up the ranks within this black feather gang, and The plot and just the cover in general totally remind me of Six of Crows. I'm just very excited for this one and to go on this monstrous filled mission with these characters. And then I have Empire of Dreams by Ray Carson. For fans of Girl on Fire and Thorns, which is including myself, we all should be very happy that we are getting another book within this world. I loved The Girl on Fire and Thorns when I read it a few years ago. This is also a standalone novel. We're following Red Sparklestone, who was an orphan with a very odd name, who was about to be adopted into the royal family by the Empress herself. But suddenly the Empress's greatest rival ends up blocking the adoption, and Red Sparklestone doesn't want any of that, so she has a plan and she ends up joining the elite guard fighting force. I'm very excited for the spin-off, and I know Ray Carson is not going to let me down. A Time of Courage by John Gwynne. This is the conclusion to John Gwynne's most recent series. It's set in the same world as Malice. It's called The Land of the Faithful. This series takes place 120 years after the events of Wrath, and I am oh so far behind on this hype train. I cannot believe it. This is a adult fantasy series. It's very well loved. It's incredibly massive. All the books are very thick, which I love, and I'm sure fans are screaming right now to get their hands on this, and I'm very grateful to have a copy. Now I just need to catch up on the series, don't I? Okay, so moving on April 9th, we have The Age of Witches by Louisa Morgan. Louisa Morgan is a very popular author, and she's returning to the world of witches with a new book, and I'm sure you guys remember The Witch's Kind, which is a book she came out with last year. How many times am I going to say the word witch? I don't know. We're following Harriet Bishop, who is from a long line of witches, and she uses her magic to help heal women. But not just ordinary women, but women who have very powerful magic. This is set in a Gilded Age of New York and London, which sounds super interesting. It sounds like a perfect read for like a rainy spring day. And then we have 3 books coming out on the 14th. The first one being Elysium Girls. This is a neo-Western dystopian where the goddesses of life and death make a bet trapping this 1935 Oklahoma town in a game, which sounds so cool. It involves witches, demons, and metal horses, and that is all I know. And then we have Race the Sands by Sarah Beth Durst. Now, I've talked about this book before, and I mentioned that I really don't like this cover, but all that matters is the story within it, and it sounds super rad. It's a YA fantasy standalone that takes place within the desert, where these beasts race for sport. And these beasts are reincarnations of people with like the most tarnished souls, and they race for deadly stakes. Stakes as in STAKES, not like steaks that you eat. That would be weird, but I would probably read it anyways. I do have this book on my Kindle, and since it is a standalone, it's even more tempting to pick it up, so I might have to do that soon. And then I have Girls That Save the World in this one. This is a YA horror about zombies. We're following a girl named June who is going to ZombieCon, which is a con completely centered around zombies, and she goes there and everything is going well until she realizes that people are, well, actually zombies. So her and her friends decide to kick into action and save the day. This one just sounds so fun. I absolutely adore this colorful cover, and I really want it to be humorous as well, which I feel like it will be. And I can always get behind a book that is about zombies and kick-ass girls. Coming out on April 16th, we have The Book of Cully by M.R. Carey. Now, I have yet to read a book by M.R. Carey. I know that he is the author of The Girl with All the Gifts, which is a very popular book. Well, he is coming out with a new one, which I highly recommend you check out. It's a very chilling post-apocalyptic book about a boy named Cully who lives in a small village, and outside of the village is just full of overgrown forest with deadly vines and even killer seeds, and the rule is that you don't venture out into the wild. Well, guess what? Something obviously happens where he has to go venture out into it, and I'm guessing he goes on a very dangerous adventure. I'm so excited for this one. I'll actually be picking it up next, so you'll be hearing my thoughts about it very soon. I think it's going to be really entertaining. Also, the spine is gorgeous, so keep a lookout for it on the 16th. We have 2 books releasing on the 21st, and the first one is The Ranger of Marzana. This is the first book in the Goddess War series. It's supposed to be a little bit on the slower paced side, kind of fantasy, which I sometimes can really love. It's inspired by Russia, and we're following 2 siblings, which I'm very excited about. I love my sibling stories, Sebastian and Sonia. Sonia is actually a warrior, and she is part of the group Marzana. I believe that's what it is. And she's like a ranger and she protects the land. And Sebastian is an incredibly powerful sorcerer. Well, their father is murdered and they have to take action against an empire. This one sounds really cool. It sounds like a book that you really need to meld into correctly. That sounds weird, but it feels like a book that you're really gonna have to focus on and just meld into the world. And then we have Shortfall by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is the sequel to Foundryside, which I read last year, and I absolutely adored. I've actually had this arc sitting on my Kindle since December, and I still haven't read it, but that's okay. I will actually definitely be picking this one up in April. If you haven't picked up Foundryside, I highly recommend doing that. It's a very unique and creative story about these 4 powerful merchant houses, as well as this poverty-stricken slum within the backdrop of this grimy city, and we have a talking key. It's amazing. And the magic system involves scribing objects and basically changing the purpose of said object. Cannot wait to get to this one. Don't Call the Wolf by Alexandra Ross. This one comes out on the 28th. This is a YA dragon fantasy. Now I know looking at this you're probably thinking, what? This isn't dragons, because the title has wolf in it and there's even wolves on the cover. Well, we're following a girl named Wren who is the queen of the forest. She is the last wolf lord, and wolf lords in this world are dragon slayers. Wren is a lynx shapeshifter and she is tasked to try and save the forest from these monsters that are plaguing it. This honestly sounds like a very spellbinding fairy tale, and I hope the story is as good as the cover. Okay, you guys, we have two more. The next one is coming out on the 28th, and it is Goldilocks. This is an adult sci-fi. People are saying it's The Martian meets The Handmaid's Tale, which is a very interesting mashup. In this world, the Earth is in environmental collapse. Humanity is literally hanging in the balance. That sounds way too real right now. But a team of women are preparing to save it, even if they have to steal a spaceship to do it. And last but not least, we have The Girl and the Stars by Mark Lawrence, and this comes out on the 30th. This is the first book to a new series that Mark Lawrence is writing. It is set in the same world as Red Sister, which I haven't read yet, but I thought I'd mention this one because it is a very highly anticipated within the SFF community, and in this one, readers are taken up north to the land of snow and ice. This cover is gorgeous, and I'm really happy that they stuck with the same theme as the previous books. Okay, so those are 20 books that are coming out in April. Let me know down below. I can't even talk right now because I am so exhausted. Which one intrigues you the most? And if I didn't mention one, let me know down below, because we could always use more books on our TBR. I've almost lost my voice. This is bad. Go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed, because it helps me out so much. Go ahead and subscribe. I upload videos every single week. Follow me on Instagram at Holly Hearts Books, and on Twitter at Holly Niece. And until we meet again, happy reading.